Supporting a friend or family member experiencing domestic violence. If you know or suspect that a family member, friend, or work colleague is experiencing domestic violence, it may be difficult to know what to do. It can be very upsetting that someone is hurting a person you care about. Your first instinct may be to want to protect your family or friend, but interverting can be dangerous for both of you and her. Be patient. Be patient. It can take time for a woman to recognize she's being abused and even longer to take to be able to take safe and permanent decisions about what to do. Recognizing the problem is an important first step. Don't make plans for her yourself, but encourage her to think about her safety more closely. Find out information about local services for her. Encourage her to think of ways in which she can increase the safety of her children. Remember, it is not the children's responsibility to protect their mother. Leave if possible. Never retaliate. Get evidence of the abuse. Keep a mobile phone, evidence of the abuse and other important documents close at hand. Obtain advice from domestic violence programs or legal aid resources about getting a restraining order or order of protection.
The organization that I'm going to speak to you about today is called POA. You might be wondering, what does POA stand for? Well, POA stands for People Opposing Women Abuse. POA is an organization that advocates social, political, legal, and economic rights for women to be equal to those of men, and therefore this improves the quality of life for women. The type of services that POA provides are shelters, counseling, and legal advice. The main important service is shelters that they provide to their clients as well as their children if needed. These shelters can be found in East and West Rand. The different types of counseling that POA provides are face-to-face counseling, support groups taken by a social worker, as well as telephonic counseling. I am going to elaborate on the legal and advocacy department at POA. Advocacy means the process of supporting or enabling people to express their view and concerns. This department works to give good centered legal services and to occupy in national and regional advocacy to protect and promote women's rights. How does POA work with the media? Well, they conduct workshops that raise awareness and the education of human rights, and as well as talk about their organization and what it is all about. And this is done on a local, provincial, and national level. The education of human rights is done at a local level because it is to build women's political agency. You might be wondering how you can help out or volunteer at POA. Well, you can donate things, but the things that they always need are women's clothing, makeup and shoes, children's clothing such as school uniform, as well as running shoes and active wear. For more information, please go to www.poa.co.za.
South African organizations that go against domestic violence and help the victims. For example, the Trauma Center. It's a healing practice for peace building and human security in conflict and post-conflict. It's also a prominent South African NGO, which stands for Non-Governmental Organization, that provides counseling for South Africans or non-South Africans that have been affected by violence or torture. The counseling is offered by registered counselors. You can take the counseling appointments as an individual, group, or as a family. The Trauma Center also provides counseling for frontline workers such as police, firefighters, and many more. But not only that, they also offer help to refugees. For example, in 2008, when xenophobia hit, offered their services to the immigrants regardless of their place of birth. Any appointment can be made by telephone or email. The office line is 021 465 7373, or you can call them by the emergency line, which is 082 444 4191. Or ultimately, you can do it by email, which is info@trauma.org.za.
Women must have equal rights to vote and stand for elections, take part in making government policy and holding positions at all levels of government, participate in the activities of non-governmental organizations. The state must make sure that women and men have equal rights to represent their country in other countries and to take part in the work of international organizations. Men and women have equal rights of citizenship. The rights of a married woman must not depend on her husband's citizenship or on where he lives. There must be no discrimination against women and girls in education. The state must remove discrimination against women in work. The state must take steps to make sure there are enough health care services and family planning programs. The state must make sure that there is a social and economic equality between men and women. Women and men must have equal rights to family benefits, bank loans, and other forms of credit, recreational activities, sports, cultural life. The state must take special steps to help rural women with special problems that they have. Women and men must have the same rights under any laws, and the law must treat women and men equally. The state must take steps to end discrimination against women in marriage and family life.
There are many ways in which the government helps victims of domestic violence, especially when the victim is a female or a child, which often works to their advantage as they have many rights concerning domestic violence in the Bill of Rights, as women and children can easily be abused much more than men, physically, sexually, and psychologically. Well, then what does the government do? The government does an ongoing campaign making the people of South Africa aware of how serious domestic violence is. The government has formed various care centers throughout the country called the Tutuzela care centers, helping women to press charges and get the assistance they need, like going for counseling or getting the correct medical care. The government has also established a Domestic Violence Act, which is to help survivors of domestic violence get as much protection from their domestic abusers as needed, and can get a legal resource helping them stay protected. The government is also working on a way to involve young boys and men into the campaign, as they too can be victims of domestic violence, and to show how any victims of domestic violence can live a better life.